Okay. Too small for you, right? Too small is all.
Maybe a little bigger.
What's it say?
Yeah.
Better? Yeah, Miss Kirsten, you like to read, please?
In every part of Asia, Buddhist monasteries can be found with, which follow this general pattern. The celebrated Sixth complex at Sanchi, established in the 3rd century BCE and active until about the 13th century CE. It is set on a hill a few miles from the ancient city of Vidisha. Minhinpali, a similar distance from Anuradhapura. The famous temples at Fayman in China and Nara in Japan were similarly removed from capital and royal.
Okay. Yeah. You know where the Sanchi complex is? You know, have you seen that?
Is that the real? But no, I'm thinking of Bodhi Gaya. No, I don't think so.
Let me show you.
No, I know what Nara is. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Not in person. That's his picture.
Yeah, so here, this is the red stupa in Sanchi.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe yes.
Sanchi and the other one is Mihintel, right?
Yeah.
What part of the what country was it?
Sri Lanka.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka. Hi, Miss Debbie, how you been? Yeah, sorry, cannot hear you much. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, good. Good.
Okay.
Thank you. How you been?
Good. I was actually going to be in an APA formatting seminar for my school right now, but it has a link that has a passcode, and I don't have the passcode, and I got your invitation, so yeah, I'm here with you instead.
Oh, right. Yeah, so we just build the temple, let's say here, Famen. Probably you may not know Famen temple, huh? That's where they keep the Buddha relic, Famen temple in China. Right here. They keep the Buddha relic here. And the Nara in Japan. Right here. So these are the temple here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So that's they construct that type of temple there. Yeah, and Stephen, can you read the next one, please?
Yeah, Mofate.
Okay.
In architectural terms, a singer's needs were met by residential buildings. Monks and nuns had separate establishments, bath chambers, refectories, and clinics. The residential areas generally consisted of single cells ranged in cloisters around a central court. In Sri Lanka, Great care was taken in matters of hygiene, and in particular, features of the monasteries are well designed and well drained bath chambers and toilets.
Hmm.
Sri Lankan monks will get really angry at you if you show up smelly.
Really?
Yeah. Don't show up smelly.
You've been at the temple in Sri Lanka?
But I know that they're very, I just know that they're very strict about, like, you don't come to the temple all smelly and gross.
Oh, okay.
It's unrelated, but I saw a thing. Some lady went to Sri Lanka and she had like a Buddha tattoo on her arm and they arrested her, deported her, took her right back.
Yeah.
out. She
That's
was supposed to be like going to another flight, go to the Maldives. She was like, well, let me just go on this other flight. She's like, no, they were like, no, you have to go back. Oh, you have to go back to the United States. It was weird.
just offended for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said as soon as she walked out, she got like a taxi and the taxi driver was like, ooh, get that tattoo.
Yeah. Would you like to read this? Can you see? Can you read?
It was and is the role of monastics to apply the Dharma within the walls of their monasteries and to ensure that it is preserved for the coming generations, while the Dharma touches every aspect of Buddhist spiritual, ritual, and physical life. In architectural terms, it is most clearly embodied in the meeting halls where residents assemble to chant sacred scriptures. As texts and commentaries were written down, edited, and translated, monastic communities began to accumulate great collections of books. Monastic libraries were not just book repositories and places of study, but active centers for which all manner of knowledge was disseminated. Buddhist monasteries such as famous India University of Nalanda became the principal centers of learning throughout Southern and Eastern Asia. A development further fascinated in China and Korea by the advent of woodblock printing.
You understand? Can you summarize, please?
Hmm?
Would you mind to summarize, please?
Summarize?
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly, I'm autistic, so my verbal comprehension is low when I read
That's okay.
aloud.
That's okay.
Um,
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah,
it's
Miss.
better for me to listen.
That's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's okay. Good. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, Miss Kirsten. Can you summarize, please?
Well, it's just that like those buildings, like they represent, the Dharma is represented in the building, it's represented in their culture, it's represented, in their, it's represented in pretty much everything, that they did, and then, of course, these are the places where eventually they started writing. I mean, that was quite some time later when they started writing, down the Buddhist canon and being able to.
What is Dharma? I don't know what Dharma is.
Dharma is mean Buddha teaching. The teaching of the Buddha. We call Dharma.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like the message, huh?
No,
Yeah,
not
well,
That's it.
no.
it's the way, yeah.
The way, the teaching. Mhm.
Well, actually, and it's not just the Buddha, it's
And the Buddha is,
all those religions of that area, that they're considered dharmic religions, so it's, a description of that type of
an expression of that.
philosophy.
Of
that
the Buddha.
Yeah.
And there's one Buddha?
Yeah, historically, there's one Buddha. Mhm.
When did he live?
In about 500 or 600 BC. in Nepal nowadays.
in Nepal.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think Nepal's on the other side of Louisville, Kentucky, isn't it? Not exactly, but it's close.
Like if you dug straight through the
Yeah,
road?
if you just went straight down, you would come out near Nepal.
I don't know.
What's that?
But if you took a rod through the globe, you went from Louisville to Nepal, it would be.
Straight?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know that.
I had a globe in my office, and so I tried to see what's
Wow.
on the opposite side of it.
Oh, that's nice.
And so,
That's
you know,
nice.
it's
All
not
right.
hard to do.
Yeah, so
But,
here,
you know, you just have to ask the question.
At first I thought that there was like some place, like in another state.
No.
so here,
Because my mind picks up patterns. with
Yeah.
autism, so I see like.
yeah,
Ball, and then it hits me, it's opposite side.
Good.
of-
yeah, here, here's the Nalanda University. This is probably the oldest university in the world, but it was destroyed by the Muslim army in the 13th century. So now they get rebuilt the new one here. Yeah, they get rebuilt the new one. Yeah.
And that's in Nepal.
So is this is the place where most Buddhist scholars came to study, including the Xuanzang, right? Yeah. Miss Debbie, you follow, right? Miss Debbie.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, Miss Debbie, would you like to read next one, please?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
The Milinda Panha Questions of Meander records a series of questions addressed to the monk Nagasena by Menander, Milinda, a Greek king who ruled in northwest India in the 2nd century BCE. At one point, the king asked the monk to define the Buddha's general shop, the use of a commercial metaphor being indicative of the mercantile patronage Buddhism enjoyed from its very beginnings. In reply, Nagasena tells the king that the Buddha's general shop consists of 3 things: his monastic community, his teachings, and the shrines for his relics. This makes clear that after his final passing, the presence of the Buddha was perpetuated by relics, generally fragments of created bone. These relics were always kept in monasteries where they were enshrined in buildings called stupas. The great stupa at Sanchi, which contains relics of the Buddha, is set in the middle of a large monastic complex.
Okay.
A similar arrangement.
You can stop here. That's all right. Yeah, you can stop and summarize, please. Yeah, it's too long. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it is long.
Mm.
You said to summarize?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, in summary, due to the, I'm guessing the mercantile patronage is the support of the people, of the support of the people that are in, for the Sangha. That, assuming that they took advantage of that, and all of the relics of the Buddha, all of the burnt ashes or the burnt bones and ashes of the body were kept in those buildings to preserve them.
Not all, but a portion of them. Yeah.
Right. The ones that they could find.
At the beginning, we talk about the question of Menandi, right?
Menander. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him.
You know.
The debate of King Melinda, it's in Pali, it's the Melinda Panya.
Oh, okay.
It's the debate of King Melinda. It's a really famous, it's one of the famous Buddhist texts. And what it does, it shows how the king, because at the time, they would travel around, this holy monk, Nagasena, goes, and so it kind of is a description of the meeting of the two, and the king asks the monks all these questions, and so the text is the debate, which really covers almost all of the Buddhist teaching in kind of one
Nice.
story.
Yeah,
I was familiar with Melinda, but I'd not heard of that. The Questions of Meander before. That's interesting.
At the beginning, we start about that book, but since it's the idea is so conservative, that's why we moved to study this book. Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah, so here, Melinda is a Greek king. So later on, he was converted to Buddhist, to Buddhism, to become Buddhist. So that's why he has a conversation with the holy monk Nagasena, and he say, yeah, in this parshat mentioned that he's defined the Buddha general shop that include monastic communities of monks, nuns, teaching, and the shrine of relic. That's the stupa there. You are going to read the please. A similar.
A similar arrangement is found in Sri Lanka, where some of the relics finally came to rest. The most celebrated being the tooth relic at Kandy in China. A finger bone of the Buddha was discovered in the 1980s in the forgotten crypt in the Fanon Temple in Shanxi province. Renowned as one of the 4 places in China with Buddha relics, the Fanon Temple enjoyed direct imperial patronage, especially in the 9th century CE. The relic was placed in a series of containers and according to a Chinese inscription set inside a white marble Ashoka stupa. This reference to Ashoka linked the monastery and its relics with the celebrated Indian monarch who did so much to promote the Buddhist cause. It was in China that the original dome-like stupa developed into the distinctive multi-tiered form generally referred to as a pagoda, which was also adopted in regions under Chinese cultural influence, such as Korea and Japan. Before the 1st century CE, relics.
No.
Oh,
Can you summarize? No. Mr. Kirsten, summarize this.
So the Ashoka stupa, well, Ashoka was the famous king that helped spread Buddhism all over India. That was short. Anyway, so he was the one that ordered the building of these stupas all over India that help people
Acknowledge.
well, yeah, like lead a more Buddhist life. Like he was a very violent king, and then he became Buddhist, and then he instituted all these more like peaceful practices amongst a really like violent time. I mean, himself also being previously a violent warrior. Anyway, so these stupas are all around India. So, but if further east you go, I guess they turn into a pagoda, which would be it's all, I guess, representation of time.
Here, stupa around India, that's where he installed. Let me see. Right here. So those are, this is the map here. The map where he put, where he installed the Buddha stupa around. And even he sent some Buddhist delegation to Sri Lanka, to China, to South Asia, even to the east too, like in the Eastern Europe too. That's why they have that type of relic preparation. And the Buddha finger relic in Sri Lanka, especially 2 relics at Kandy, is so popular. Yeah.
I've heard about the tooth relic. Apparently it's still growing.
Yes. Yeah. Right here. So they bring out once per year to display for the public to pay respect to. Yeah. This is the Buddha relic. This is considered as the national as a national treasure. Yeah. And also the finger relic of the Buddha in Farman. It's right here. See them? And they say this growth in China. Yeah. Right. So these are the places where they enshrine the Buddha relic. Yeah. For the Buddhists, especially lay people, yeah, the past even now, because they're busy for their daily life, so it's easy for them to pay respect to Buddha relics. But for Buddhist monks and nuns, we focus more on the teaching, on the starting and teaching of the Buddha. Yeah.
We're getting that platform we have up there in the pond, we're getting ready to put the pagoda up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Stephen, can you read, please?
Yes, Mofafe. Before the 1st century CE, relics were a key instrument in the spread of Buddhism, helping to establish new centers of religious significance. When images were introduced, they were technically described as relics of indication or referral, and the principal Buddha image in a monastery was typically housed in a shrine room known as the Gandhakuti. This referred initially to the apartment where the Buddha stayed at Jativana, but it was also applied to any place where he resided and where his image was later installed. I'm guessing from a general sense, they're saying that after his passing, most of the relics is dedicated to basically continue on with Buddha's teachings. And then, of course, it became to more added more of like his image to, at other location where obviously the relics is not there. So they added more images of the Buddha. So that's about the gist of my understanding of it.
Yeah, again, so during Buddha times, there's no Buddha statue yet. They just put they just plant the Buddha tree that signified the Buddha present in front of the monastery, or Buddha bowl, a staff, and so forth, anything related to Buddha, and that represent him during his time. But after he passed away, after he attend Nirvana, final Nirvana doesn't pass away, so people start to create the Buddha image of statue.
Well, at first it was for quite some time, it was only his feet. They didn't, you never saw depictions of a human, like a full human, they were only like, yeah.
Just a few.
Eventually they started doing like full images of them, but it was really a significant amount of time where the only representation of him was his feet.
Yeah.
But two, the significance with their feet, a lot in the historical traditions, you touch the feet like of a monk or a holy person as to recognize walking their path, like you're paying homage to their path. So that's why it would only be his feet, because they're paying homage to the path that he left for his.
This is the general tradition in India. I witnessed one day I went to a small market in Dharamsala, that's in northern part of India. So I saw there's this one man, he just approached to his boss. He touched his hand to his both feet, and after that he touched his forehead. That symbolized that showing respect to his boss. That's all. Yeah.
That's common.
Huh?
That's common.
It's common in India now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and if I don't do it, but you're supposed to. I'll do it in ceremony, but when you meet like the Theravada, you're supposed to prostrate and touch their feet.
Yeah. Okay, you can do this.
The laity, the heart of the the heart of traditional Buddhism is the relationship between the laity and the Sangha. In founding his monastic order, the Buddha initiated a social contract between the monk and the layperson that is still important to this day, as it was the Sangha was established. Traditionally, male and female lay people who committed themselves to both the Buddhist Dharma and Sangha were known respectively as Upasaka and Upasika. They made their commitment by formally reciting the Triple Refuge, and by this act they defined themselves as Buddhist. So the way the Buddha arranged his arrangement is that there's supposed to be this, in their traditional, in the very most traditional version, there's a very specific way the monastic order is supposed to relate to the people that aren't monastic. It was set up in that way so that they're dependent on each other. That's why initially monks were only allowed to beg, so they had to go in and spend time also in the community. So anyways, and they, so still a Theravada monk would, like you would be a Upasaka, so he would acknowledge you by your name, you would be Upasaka, I would be Upasika. Or since I'm older, they say.
It's from
So
the
terms that represent the caste system.
no, not the caste. No,
Okay.
just the terms represent
Just terms.
layman, a lay woman. That's all.
Yeah,
Just-
Obasika, that's mean layman. Obasika is mean lay
I
woman.
thought they had a
That's all.
caste system.
No, that's it. That's for Hinduism, not Buddhism.
that was
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah,
Buddhists.
There's
So
no-
Hinduism came first. And then
yeah.
Buddhism?
Yeah.
Hinduism still have the caste system, but not in Buddhism. Everyone's equal.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Buddha kind of like shut
Mhm.
the caste system. He didn't
Mhm.
think that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not a
Miss
fan of the
Debbie,
caste
can you
either.
read next, please, Miss Debbie?
The Buddhist path can be seen in terms of the progressive development of generosity through donation, dana, morality, shila, and meditation. In traditional Buddhist societies, it is still relatively uncommon for lay people to engage in meditation. And lay practice centers very much on the development of generosity and morality. It is perhaps true to say that without the generosity of the laity of the Theravada Sangha would not have survived, as the monks have traditionally depended on lay donations for their most basic requirements of food, clothing, and so on. So the way that the Buddha set up the monastic life, they were designed to rely on the laity, and the laity in return for their generosity were blessed with the teachings of the Buddha. So it was a mutually beneficial situation. But it did require that the monks and nuns be completely dependent upon their supporters.
Actually, it happened in every tradition, right? In Catholicism, Christianity, the priests depend on the lay people to support them financially, materially. It's normal everywhere.
Yep.
Every tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a two-way support, mutual support. So for
Right.
the
Symbiotic relationship.
for the religious orders of people, right? We provide the spiritual and mental support, and for lay people, they support financially and materially. So that's mutual support. There's not one way. Yeah. Can you read, please? Last one.
In Theravada countries, the most frequently seen act of dana is the offering of food to mendicant monks. However, in Sri Lanka, the lay people, particularly women, tend to prepare food directly to the monastery. In countries dominated by the Mahayana tradition, the situation is a little more complex. The community lay people often make what is known as a tea offering, where enough money is donated to offer the traditional Tibetan drink of hot buttered tea to all the monks in the monastery. And occasion, the laity also sponsors the recitation of particular text or mantras by the monks. In East Asia, Buddhism is more common for the laity to make offerings of flowers, incense, and money. The form that dana takes is reflective of the varying culture, context, and size of monastic institutions.
Excuse me, can I give some more, please?
So, yeah, dana is generosity, so, that's pretty clear, part of the way you create merit is through generosity, morality, well, meditation, not so much as a lay person, but, so that's in the Theravada, tradition, and, this is a Mahayana thing, temple, so you can see sometimes our interactions are a little bit different. They feed us often, where,
I'm sorry, say that again?
like here, if you come here, the monks and nuns will feed you, right? If you go to a Theravada temple, you bring food and you don't get to eat until. It's, yeah, so with these Mahayana religion or, traditions, it's a little more complex.
Okay.
And then they're just explaining how the Tibetan tradition, they make tea offering, the lay people make these tea offerings or pay for the recitation of certain mantras.
So money and tea, for the.
Well, yeah, it's a way to make your karma better, is to make your offering.
Yeah, so in Sri Lanka, the lay woman, they cook the food and bring to the monastery
Yeah,
to offer for monk, but not for
Mhm.
eating, but here for everyone.
yeah.
Everyone come, we can have lunch or dinner together. You like this week, some lay people, they invite, actually, yeah, they invite the Tibetan monk to do this, the mandala, they make the offerings too.
Mhm.
On our behalf. So that's just
So.
different. It's in different way.
That's how it works, yeah.
Here.
Everyone's dependent on each other.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that karma is like action, you know.
Mhm.
And we work together to create good common.
The act of giving is seen as a lessening of the bonds of attachment and a reorientation in the mind away from the egotistic concern. This act is also viewed as an opening out to others and is seen as the development of the virtues of non-attachment and friendliness. Many of the Jataka tales recount stories of Buddha's supreme act of generosity in his previous lives. One famous tale tells how he offered his flesh to a hungry tiger so that she should have strength to feed her young. Such stories demonstrate the Buddha's perfection of generosity and are meant to inspire faith in the Buddhist practitioner. On a day-to-day level, in addition to the offering of food and clothing, lay generosity is demonstrated by the donation of money to the building and maintenance of monasteries, and the sponsorship of the publication of Buddhist literature. In return for their generosity, lay supporters of the Sangha gain merit or good karma.
Okay, Miss Gibson.
So the good, like I said, the good merit, the punya, you get, you improve your karma by making, these donations. So in a lot of the stories of the Buddha's previous lives, there are these stories of him having these just heroic feats of generosity, just not being attached to. And so one of the famous stories is that he offers his flesh, because there's this theme commitment becoming a Buddha in this, right? I guess he was a bodhisattva, you know.
soon
There-
destroy.
there's no self, so if he's really not attached to his self or his body, that's fine, the hungry tiger can eat my flesh because this is not me.
Mm.
Okay.
So basically, that's the idea of Buddhist practice and principle. When we give out, of course, we do a good karma there, and also it symbolizes as there's no attachment for ourselves. Let's say if you have $10 in your pocket, and if you see homeless, you can buy something for him instead of buy food for you. So that's what is here is the reorientation of the mind away from egotistical concern. That means the attachment to itself. So that's the first ever practice, and even
Like
can
a
imagine,
discipline,
huh?
Like sort of like a discipline.
Well, it's
Kind
it's
of.
part of the practice, like,
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
have to
part
be
of
disciplined
practice. Mhm.
because you
Yeah.
need to,
Mhm.
you know, if you're to have good karma, you need to have integrity.
well, yeah, it's the three things, it's the dana, which is the generosity, the sila, which is the moral behavior, and then, of course, meditation or concentrate, like a practice. And those are the things that further you along in your Buddhist.
Yeah, and Stephen, what do you think? This kind of story, the Buddha past lives, he was a prince, but he sacrificed his life for tigers. So that's what do you think? Is it beyond our human thinking, right? The prince just mean he's going to be a king of a country. How could he just sacrifice his life for only a tigers? What do you think?
Or I guess Norman lay people, is unimaginable for you to give up everything because nowadays, I guess, just like Buddha's teaching is just not to attach because when you're attaching, all those are causing all the difficult hardship that we as lay people nowadays are, struggling and facing with. So, yeah, that's why we as normal people can't imagine that you can do such a thing. But the more you learn and understand about it, I can understand, why Buddha did what he did because he just wanted nirvana just to be happy. And just because you have plenty doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. So, mofake.
Yeah, Miss Debbie, what do you think? Let's say, imagine that you're going to be president, but somehow someone asks from you anything. So it's not easy to sacrifice for that type of position, right? For
Right.
people, right? Not only one person, not only one person, but also even animal. This is go beyond human thinking, right? Mm.
Beyond normal human thinking.
Mhm.
There's some pretty special humans out there, but yeah, it's beyond our normal realm of thinking.
Most of the time, when we give out some extra one, right? Let's say we work, right? We go to we work in for someone else, or even we own our business. Most of the time, it's for our survival. And if we have some extra, we can give out. That's all.
The Buddha teaches in the historical Buddhist teaching very much that all these things are gonna come and go, whether it's your money, your health, all that stuff, whatever is gonna come and go. It's not you, but this noble wealth that you create, this karmic wealth that you create is gonna sustain you much, much longer and bring you the noble riches. That's gonna be something that's not gonna be so subject.
In Buddhist views, this lifetime is still one of the dots in the series of lifetimes. Jerry, you follow, right? It's still one dot. So that's why for the Buddha in the past, he didn't care much about his body. Whoever asked anything else, whether his body, even his head and so forth, he was willing to give to them. Voluntarily and happily, but not for us. Most of the time you get give out some extra one.
But that wealth that he created by being so generous propelled him to attain higher and higher.
Yeah, sounds like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, like, so say you start a path and it's almost like you make a little snowball and throw it down a hill.
It's
Still.
You know, so you gotta, you know, but I mean, you gotta be there. It's not a correct metaphor.
Yeah, yeah, please. Jerry.
Also important to lay life are the 5 precepts, often recited by lay practitioners after the triple refuge. They are commitments to refrain from harming living beings, taking that which is not offered with sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants which may cause heedlessness. In addition, on important occasions such as full moon days, the practitioner may undertake to abide by a further 3 precepts, usually described as committing to refrain from solid food after midday, dancing, singing, music, improper shows, ornamenting the body with garlands, scents, reagents, and high and luxurious beds and sheets.
Okay, you understand that? So that's the 5 precept, right? What do you think about another 3? It's just only once per.
So when I do, so when I practice with the Sri Lankans, like if I spend a whole day in retreat, I observe 8 precepts. So like they, like, so early in the morning, they, you know, we do a whole ceremony where I accept these other precepts. And then so, yeah, I'm not allowed to eat at inappropriate times. I can make up nothing, nothing fancy. And then, only eat at lunch. You get to eat that one meal. Until you, like, once you're released, of course, you go back to you always have the 5, but you can be released from the 8 as a lay person.
Yeah, Miss Debbie, so you attend the practice at our temple in San Luis?
Once a month.
Yeah, once how
once a
was
month.
that? So how have you done many times already, right?
Yeah, I've
That-
done every time I've been able to, yeah.
How was that?
How is it? Peaceful. It's very relaxing. It's very centering. It kind of brings me back out of the crazy. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning. We take our 8 precepts with you on Zoom. And we have our normal service. We eat a special lunch where we have specific ceremonial procedures that we follow, and we don't talk during the meal. Then we return to walking meditation. We do various things around the temple to help, and then we have our closing ceremony at the end of the day. Normally around 5.
You could follow all in Vietnamese ceremony.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
I do pretty much everything in Vietnamese there now.
Somehow you guys in a similar situation.
Debbie and I are good friends.
Okay.
We talk all day. We are good friends.
Okay,
We talk all the time.
you ever see a picture of us next to each other, we look like sisters.
Wow.
Yeah, they think we're sisters.
Will you come here this weekend for our celebration here? Or you take care of your mom?
Yeah, Mom. I also have class Sunday night now.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. So you are sisters, Dhamma sister,
Yes.
right? Sister and Dhamma.
She teaches me very much. She's very, very knowledgeable.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That's good then. That's a good support system then.
It is a really good support system. I actually talked about you guys and my Buddhist support system for a school paper yesterday.
Oh, really? How was it? What is
it asked what kind of support systems do we have in place to help us, manage the stress of school and life and everything. And I mentioned all of you. So yeah, you really do. You make a big difference in maintaining sanity and peace.
how was the mom? She enjoyed our celebration last time?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they always do.
That's good. Okay, so that's the three. Basically, Jerry, you know why they keep the extra three precepts beside the five precepts? You know why? They're not the one that they're not supposed to eat solid food after midday. No dancing, singing, music, and so forth, and no poop, even perfumes on the body, aware of flower, and so forth. You know why?
I know the moon is important, but no, I don't know. I guess they will.
Well, it's just to remove anything complicated, like it's just, a lot of it's about the non-attachment, and then you're there to focus on the Dharma, not how you look, you're not supposed to be, of course, if you eat these big fancy meals, you're attaching to feeding yourself really well, or you're attaching to eating at certain time, and then, of course, the high luxurious beds and seats. So you just you
just rub it out.
stay humble.
Yeah.
You stay
You
humble.
just staying bare.
And Stephen, do you understand why? Why is it just only once per month? Miss Debbie, right? Once per month. So and Stephen, do you know why? Yeah,
Not the full understanding, but just briefly what we've learned so far.
Debbie, you understand now, right? Why you follow?
I think so. I think my understanding is that a lot of older rituals surrounded solar and lunar cycles.
Okay.
Is that correct?
How about not eating after midday, and also no dancing, singing, no poop, perfume in the body? So why is that?
A lot of it has centers on sacrificing humility,
Okay.
not overindulging,
That's a-
being
that's
minimal,
yeah.
taking only what you need, and not
That's
Mhm.
to live in the simple life.
Mhm.
To focus on the practice instead of indulging in your body, instead of feeding yourself and around your body. You focus on the Dharma. You focus on the study and practicing.
Like the
That's-
cycle, you align it with the lunar cycle, and then you
Yeah,
get that.
only once per month.
It's like a pattern.
Yeah, it get the
forever.
practice. Get the practice to have a simple life. Yeah, because especially lay people out there. Yes, when you go to work, you have to wear the suit and so forth.
Be so
When
serious.
you have to you have to present yourself right in the proper way, in a good way, so that people can accept you. But this kind of practice, you don't need you be who you are. Just live in simple life. You don't need to pay attention on applying perfumes or wear the flower and so forth. You focus on the spiritual practice. So there's not much distraction. That's the whole idea there. Yeah. Who turn is that? Is it yeah, and Stephen, please, right?
Yes, move on.
Mm.
Lay devotional practice focuses on activities that are conducive to the production of faith. The primary form of religious expression open to the lay community is in the practice of good conduct or morality, as set out in the Noble Eightfold Path. Another important lay practice is pilgrimage to the holy sites associated with the Buddha's life or to important temples and shrines. And it's kind of cut off a little bit. That's kind of weird. In Tibet, lay people express their devotion by prostrating themselves hundreds of times at holy places, by turning prayer wheels filled with mantras, or by hanging up prayer flags.
Yeah, Miss, you have. Oh, can you summarize, and Stephen? You got the idea? You understand the idea?
Just the basic idea, but just not the whole to be able to explain correctly.
Yeah.
So I sort of even brought up the Sila sometimes they add Asian, but anyway, Siwa is the way they say it in Pali. Is the morality, right? So that's part of those 3 things that you work on to create your merit. So of course, the Eightfold Path is a very basic way you liberate yourself from the cycle of samsara eventually. You're able to hone in and get all of those, almost perfectly. That is how you liberate yourself from suffering. Anyway, so another practice that they, of course, pilgrimage going to Bodhi Gaya is very popular. And if you ever see the practice in Tibet, they put on these like mitts and they'll go around these holy places and they like throw themselves face down on the ground.
You've seen that before?
And they,
I have, yeah.
and they,
It's fascinating.
around. So it's a little bit more exaggerated version of like bowing all the way down to the Buddha. They do it and they move. So the entire time they move, it's part of the prostration. So they're not walking, they're literally just rubbing themselves on the ground in a specific order.
Okay, here, we'll show you here. See that even they bow on the street, on the road, on the freeway. This is here. Jerry, you have not seen them before?
No.
No. Okay, let me see whether the video here. Right
I've
here.
seen a few videos of those.
I've
watch
seen them doing it
before?
up mountains in Tibet. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
All the
Steven,
way up mountainsides.
you seen this video, the clip before, right?
I've seen a few clips, but
Bow on the street, on the road there.
yeah, I've seen bits and pieces. That's correct. Yeah.
the arms all the way up. But Bodhicitta. So every time they do that, they think of the Buddha mind.
What they call full prostration.
Yeah.
Full bow down the whole body there. Miss Debbie, you understand why they bow like this way? You understand why?
As a reminder of humility and
Yeah.
respect
Yes,
and detachment or non-attachment, I guess I should say.
wow. And Stephen, what do you think?
The concept I kind of understand, but it's a little bit different from the traditional what we were learning so far. So
Even in the way they do it here in the Mahayana tradition, or is the way I've been trained, is that every time you do that, you're repeating these sequences, whatever, compassion, wisdom, liberation. You're also like putting that in that system into your whole body over and over and over. So at some point that also just kind of, you become a part of that and it sort of becomes your default because you've moved this process through your body and this produce.
Jerry, what do you think? Is too much?
It's too much. It's definitely a very impressive display of humility.
Imagine that, even when you walk on the street, on the road, it's so dirty, right? This is all the dust around, but they still bow. They just show humanity, right? They show being humble. Right here, they just show that these people, they bow. Prostration here.
Oh.
Yeah, Debbie, right?
It also shows incredible devotion.
Yes,
I mean, you don't do something like that unless you're really, really serious about it.
yeah, if
108 pines in here.
This is what I've seen on these mountains, these craggy, nasty, rocky mountainsides. It's like, they're amazing. And it's no wonder they live until they're 100 because they do this all day. They're healthy. They're healthy in mind and body.
Is that are people afraid of getting dirty?
well, of course, dirty, but still, they let go. It's painful, it's tired, but they let go of the attachment to the body. That's what they're doing here.
Yeah, like looking for a spot to not bash on a rock.
Even they bow on the
Well, they
rock.
wear those leather aprons too, it looks like, too, to protect their knees, but that's still got to be hard.
I can't imagine that helps much.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
bow through the quick too. What do you think, Stephen? It's too much? What do you think?
For normal human being, it is too much. But if you really think about it, look at all the chaos in just the United States alone right here. We're complaining about how dirty road and everything. Think of all the toxic that we are ingesting ourselves, the smoking, the drinking, the drugs. That right there alone, overeating, the obesity level has been so high here in a country that we can learn so much, and yet we are so troublesome. Just that alone right there to me is, much worse than us thinking about a dirty street. So,
Yeah. It's up to 75% now. Did you know that? 75% of Americans are now obese.
Oh my God.
That's a lot. And it's just gluttony. It's just utter excess and gluttony.
I think they've lowered the standard it's almost as if they've taken the term obesity and they've watered it down. You know, it's a BMI, it's body mass index, that's all they're doing, it's just a number.
Yeah.
You know, it's like obesity sounds like it should be a debilitating effect, you know, beriatric weight.
Yeah, see that here is now at the Buddhist Gaya where they just have the board and they bow down, even just they smooth out that wooden board too. They bow every day.
Do they do this?
Huh?
How often do they do this?
It's up to them.
Like a sequence of pattern?
No, it is up to every one of them. If they feel
They
good,
can do whenever they want.
whenever they want. This is no the part of practice. But like you do exercise, like how you run in or you lift weight and so forth. This is up to
It
you.
is exercise, isn't it?
Huh?
It is up and down, up and down.
For the whole body.
Yeah.
The kind of whole body. But in this somehow, and Stephen, you know that this is like some kind of what they call dependence. You know what means dependence? And Stephen?
No, I'm not.
Miss Kristen, you know why they bound? That's just one of the way to
Repentance. If
Okay.
they're looking for potentially anything, any bad deeds or bad karma they may have started or created, or which I mean we create some sort of karma pretty much.
Yeah, especially at the Buddhist Gaya West or the
But
Buddha.
that's also part of like a purification.
Yeah,
process.
body and mind
A lot of
purification.
things are like purification process, how you purify your mind, meditation, prostration, chanting. Those are all different.
Another expression.
It's just a different practice of like
The same.
ways to
Yeah,
purify your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So.
and they like it. You like doing that?
No, actually, it's just one of the practice. Right. Besides doing meditation, besides chanting, they do this kind of prostration and bowing.
I've done a lot of prostrate. I've done.
Yeah, Jerry, you know why? Why do they bow? You know why? Why do they bow? Why is that?
In that way,
No, in our way, even in our way too.
just to show respect.
And also, when the head is the highest place in our body, so we put down the round. This is show that we have been humble. Right. Miss Debbie, you understand that significant
Oh,
meaning?
yeah.
How is
Yeah.
that? Why is bowing?
And it's hard to, it can be hard to keep up. I don't know how she keeps up.
Who, me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
I
I was talking about his mom.
Yeah, he said
oh,
told.
my mom. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Super.
But she still does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So it's at first a strength for you when you bow, Debbie?
No, I actually really enjoy prostrating, believe it or not. It is an act of humility, and it's a reminder that I need to let go,
Mhm.
that I need to not be attached to things, and then I need to be humble.
Mhm.
It's actually one of my favorite parts of service,
Okay.
believe it or not.
And
Unless I'm having a bad back day, then it's not my favorite part of service.
good
But most of
exercise,
the time it
too,
actually is.
right? It's
Yeah.
good exercise too, right? Mhm.
Mhm.
And Stephen, what do you think?
In
About
regards to
about
bowing,
what's the meaning?
yeah, it's just like everyone is saying, it's just basically to be humble and paying respect just to the teaching of Buddhas and of course to Buddha himself there. And if think about it, if it's just one of those things to where you have to make it a habit to practice depending on how deeply devoted you are. And to me, it's not only a practice you just to get you rooted into the path, the teachings and everything, but at the same time, you know, you're um, practicing yourself, you know, to go down that path. And of course, it's a great exercise.
That's
So the more you do it, so.
Yeah, some of the little kids here come skittering in and they'll bounce skitter real fast and then they'll skitter back out.
They don't understand, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. So it's time up, so thank you. So see, you have beautiful Buddha statue over there, Miss Debbie. Yeah, it's
I'll
beautiful.
actually be able to join regularly now because I have a laptop that I got for school
No.
that I have to use for this all the time. So now I actually know how to do it, and I have a good connection and a good computer. So I can join every Friday or most of Fridays now.
So see you Friday, next Friday. Thank you.
Thank
And you
you.
beautiful Buddha statue.